Welcome back to the Matchbook Weekend Football Preview. I am delighted to be joined by a couple of grade A winners right now. Mr. Adrian Clarke at the top right of your screen. If you're watching us now live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, please do get in touch. And we're also joined by We Love Betting's Mark O'Haire. Gentlemen, across all channels last week, 14 out of 18 winners, 77% hit rate. Mark, first of all, mate, just on this preview, your best bet, Varbergs versus Norrköping. I definitely pronounced that wrong. Over 2.75. We got 3 goals in the first half. We had to wait around for the full win in the second half. But a good weekend, Matt.
Yeah, it was, and I think I don't want to point it out, but some of those games, you ask Adrian and I to sort of prepare for and try and find betting angles for. We wouldn't be necessarily on our agenda, but it's the most satisfying ones are the ones that we kind of put up ourselves, I guess, in our columns, as well as the kind of any other business part of this show, which is really, really satisfying when they all come together, as well as obviously when we call the Premier League correct as well, because that is arguably the hardest league to call in the world, really, because the markets are so sharp. So, yeah, it's really satisfying when it all comes together. And, very pleased. Hopefully more to come this week as well.
Adrian, your debut piece on insights.matchbook.com. 4 winners, 4 selections on 2 games and 4 winners. Great start.
Yeah, no, the pressure's always on, isn't it? When you start up a new column and you're throwing some tips out there. So yeah, I was slightly nervous about it, but it all turned out nicely in the end. Look, it won't always be like that, but look, we'll always come up with reasons behind the bets. We're looking at patterns, we're looking at form, etc. So yeah, it all came nicely. Hopefully, it'll be the same this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're watching us or listening to us now on Thursday morning, Adrian's piece is already up. So he's hitting the ground running again, getting his copy into me on Wednesday evening. He's keen for a couple more, so 3 more bets. Right, guys, so coming up in today's show, we're previewing Arsenal versus Leicester, Southampton versus Everton, Manchester United versus Chelsea, Aston Villa versus Leeds, but a Friday night lights there, EFL and others, and best bets. And let's move straight into it. Sunday's action. Now, obviously, we're recording this, as I said, on Thursday morning. Arsenal play tonight in Austria, I think it is, in the Europa League. And we will look at the betting for Arsenal versus Leicester. And Adrian, I'm going to start with you. But first of all, let's have a look at the current live price at Matchbook. You can back the Gunners there at 2.01. Leicester City at 3.98. Draw at 3.82. Leicester City getting a half a goal start on the Asian handicap. Just under 1.97 there, and the total is 2.75 or 2 3/4, and slightly favouring the under. Arsenal have a terrific home record against Leicester in recent years, Adrian. They lost last weekend 1-0 against Manchester City. Obviously, we don't have this Europa League to look back on just yet, but what are you feeling with the Gunners here? There's probably not much value there, but there's still odds against. It's probably not a bad one.
Yeah, well, they have a terrific record. I think unbeaten in 27 games at home to Leicester City. So it's a fixture that they've liked down the years, no doubt about that. I wouldn't worry too much about the Europa League. Obviously, by the time most people put a bet on for this game, we'll know what will have happened anyway. But yeah, there'll be 8-9 changes, I'm sure, for that game. Look, I look at the form of Arsenal, and they're defensively much more solid this season. We know that. But they're not creating that many chances. And that, I think, is a slight concern. They really need to be clinical. They need to be ruthless. I looked at the last home game against Sheffield United. On the face of it, decent 2-1 win. Only 6 shots. 6 shots in the game. And I looked through the archive, and it's the lowest ever since Opta started recording the stats for Arsenal in a home game in the Premier League against non-Big Six opposition. The lowest amount of shots they've had. In the previous game at home to West Ham, 7 shots, clearly one of the lowest that they've ever.
I think they're third lowest in the league. I think West Brom and one other, the name is the team escapes me. The third lowest in the league for the team, with pretty decent attacking talent. It's a bit of a worry there.
It's remarkable. Yeah, I just think Arteta is focused on being tactically well structured and disciplined, and that side of it is working very well. But the next phase needs to kick in now, and where Arsenal need to play that free-flowing football and to create more chances. And it won't be easy against a Leicester side that will have been stung, I think, by a couple of poor performances at home. This game was a draw not that long ago, towards the end of last season. Arsenal battered them in the first half. Leicester adjusted and came back to claim a deserved 1-1. So I think this is a tough game for Arsenal. I have to say, I don't see a great deal of value at even money there. I'm looking at the unders market. I like under 2 3/4, under 2.5 to 3, so under 2 3/4. That is where I would be looking here. The draw also appeals at just shy of 4, isn't it? Just 3.9, I think, something along those lines for the draw. So those are the two angles I'd look at. I don't think Arsenal will lose. I think they're more than capable of winning the game, given Leicester's form. And Leicester haven't been creating much lately. The last 2 games, their XG, expected goals, around the 0.6 mark. So not the best from them. But I don't know if I've got enough confidence to go all in on Arsenal. So I'd look at the unders market.
Mark, what are you thinking on this one? Unders for Adrian. You're smiling away. That means you're obviously in full agreement, or else you don't agree at all. So it's one of the other.
I've been nodding along in approval. Everything Adrian said. There's not a lot I can really add to it, to be honest. I think last week we saw where Arsenal are at against Man City. You know, they have improved immeasurably without the ball. He's absolutely bang on. It's what they're doing with the ball, which is a concern, really. I don't have the stat to hand, but certainly a couple of weeks ago, there was something flying around that under Arteta, Arsenal had created the fewest non-penalty big chances in the Premier League under his watch, which is quite alarming, really. Aubameyang's had to feed off scraps most of the season as well. You mentioned the 2 games against the Blades and West Ham as well, both pretty underwhelming from an attacking perspective. And they were, I think, 1.95 earlier in the week for this, and I thought that's short. They were 2.25 for the game in July, and we know how that panned out. Obviously, their home record is very good, but if you look into the results and where those results come from Arsenal, a lot of the wins come against the sort of bottom half fodder in the Premier League. And then at Leicester, I think they've been flattered by the results, to be honest, this season. I've said it a few times. I said it last week. Over half of their goals have come from penalties or own goals. Their open play output has actually been quite poor. I felt a little sorry for them last week, missing those probably their 5 best players against Villa. I certainly expect Vardy and Maddison to come back into the team. But if you look at the raw numbers, really, or the XG numbers, 47% of their expected goals output have come from penalties this year. They're averaging 0.92 non-penalty XG per game, which is bang average, to be honest. And I think there's a lot for me to be sort of deciding that Leicester are actually going good enough to win here at a reasonable price, let's be honest. But I think the most likely scenario is it ends all square. But my best bet would definitely be the same, under 2 3/4 goals. Around that, we know Arsenal are solid and there's a foundation now of what they're doing, but yet to be convinced that things are clicking going forward. So it's a tricky game to call, but I think the under 2 3/4 is the best call.
You may have felt sorry for the Foxes, but we were good and glad to back Aston Villa plus 3/4 of a goal, and that was a pretty easy winner. It was definitely, obviously, the late goal helped. It took away any fears, but I think they were quite comfortable for that bet. All right, gentlemen, that's a bit of a consensus there. Good to start the show on a consensus. Yeah, sorry, Matt.
I'll just say as well, from a Leicester perspective, I know Sionchu's out, but Wesley Fofana made his debut last weekend. It looked really good. Yeah, he's been class in France for the last 2 years. A young lad. He'll make a massive impression in the Premier League, and it was good to see him have a solid debut as well. So defensively, he should firm them up a little bit, even if Sionchu's out.
Yeah, and his rugby namesake ain't so bad either, Mark. There you go. Let's move on to Southampton against Everton. Mark, I'm going to start with you on this, but let's take a look at the current betting at Matchbook. At the time of recording, you can back the Saints at 3.08. Top of the table, Toffees at 2.44. The draw at 3.64. Southampton getting a quarter of a goal starting the Asian handicap at 1.87. Not much in that. And 2.75 is the total, and slightly favouring the under. Mark, we let's be honest, we kind of got lucky with Everton plus 3/4 of a goal last weekend. Look, Liverpool should have won the game. The under's not so good for us. That was a kind of a loser from early on. But Mark, for me with Everton, I mean, the way Liverpool started like a train. I was quite impressed by Everton. The fact that they did, they just kind of stuck at it and stuck with it. And yes, Liverpool should have won, but I thought Everton were right in that game.
Yeah, they were. I mean, you got to credit their resilience for Liverpool. Really came all guns blazing. Should have won the game reasonably comfortably, but fair play to Everton for sticking in there. I called the game completely wrong in terms of the total goals angle last week, but I'm hopefully going to be on the right path this weekend, because I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it could be quite fun, quite exciting. I think overs is a call. Over 2.5, 1.78ish. Can get close to 1.8. I think you're in a good position. I know Richarlison's banned, which is a blow for Everton. Coleman's injured as well. Godfrey came on to fill in the position, a bit out of position, you could say, at right back last weekend. So interesting to see if Ancelotti adapts his system with no Richarlison. But then he's still got James in there. He looks like a Rolls Royce this season already. He's just suited the Premier League superbly so far. And defensively, I still can't sort of trust Everton either, because Pickford's rush of blood. He's always going to do it twice in a game at least. Mina and Keane even, they're going to get dragged out by Ings and Adams as well. So I definitely think there's an opportunity for Southampton here if you look at the prices. They could have easily been well beaten by Chelsea themselves last weekend in that first half, but they stuck at it as well. Their high pressing, all action approach, that led to the 3 goals that they scored, really. Direct errors from the Chelsea team, really. So, they have made some good progress since those early weeks when Ralph Hasenhüttl was questioning everything. Stuart Armstrong could be back from his sort of isolation as well, which is a boost. But it's about the front two in Ings and Adams. They're going to hassle and harry, run the channels, run in behind. They're just a general nuisance, really. And Ings has been so clinical in the past 12 months as well. You're always going to rely on Southampton to score. They've done so in all but 4 of their last 33 home games under Ralph Hasenhüttl. It's just their inability to keep clean sheets, really. Just 5 in that same 33-game sample. 73% of those games have seen both sides score. That was trading around 1.67 I saw on the high street, which actually isn't a bad bet, actually, when you look at the numbers. I know most people don't like to punt those kind of prices, but if you boost it up to over 2.5 goals for 1.8-ish, I think you're in a solid position. Everton, under Ancelotti, 64% have seen BTTS. They've scored in 21 of 25, overs landing in 60%. Even without Richarlison, I still think they're going to give Southampton plenty of problems. And then as well, just defensively, exclude their cup clashes against teams in the lower leagues. They've only kept 4 clean sheets in 22 since mid-January. So you've got 2 coaches who like to play forward-thinking football, attacking football. I think it's going to be really watchable. So I like the overs.
Yeah, Adrian, if it looks like goals, it smells like goals, it actually could very well be just a game full of goals, isn't
it? Yeah, I think along the same lines. I've got both teams to score down as one of my picks for this game. I fancy them both. 8 goals in the last 4 for the Saints, and Mark's right. Ings and Adams are a handful, and Everton missing Coleman, and we're still not sure about them at the back. Mike, I have big concerns about Southampton at the back. I have to say, the high line was just ripped to shreds by Spurs. We saw that, and Chelsea as well. Remember, cast your mind back to the goals that they scored. It's a really high line, and Vestergaard and Bednarek, they're not the quickest.
It's good fun though, Adrian. It's good fun. It makes for good games.
It's utter madness, I think, in terms of the coaching from Hasenhüttl, who I rate. I really like Hasenhüttl. It will give anyone a tough game. That their last questions of everyone they play, Southampton, but I don't know if he's cautious enough. And I think sometimes he's just got to say, look at the bigger picture and say, look, we're going to drop our line here and look to protect maybe what we've got. So no, both teams to score. For the reasons outlined, I fancy Everton to continue their winning run. I'm not completely sold on going all in on Everton. I like them with the quarter goal start here at just, I think it's 2.09 around that mark.
Well, it's Southampton getting the start, Age, so okay. Everton are giving it up. Yeah, so I think you'll probably be,
okay. I in that sense, I'd back Everton for the draw and win. Whichever way you want to do it. I don't think they'll lose the game, but yeah, I'm not completely sold that they'll win it with comfort either. But yeah, goals are the way to go, and both teams to score.
Well, yes. Apologies. I actually kind of took you up wrong there, Adrian. So if you back Everton at the moment on the Asian handicap, if it's a draw, you get your money back, half your stake. So you lose the other half. So
that's the best.
You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, just to clarify, that's good.
Yeah. So what's the
2.08 for that? Yeah, 2.08. Yeah, 2.08, just over evens. Yeah. So,
well, that's the bet I would go for, because I think that's the safer angle.
In terms of, are you still kind of confident enough in BTTS there, Adrian, that Southampton will score?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Southampton, they almost always score at home. And as I said, 8 goals in the last 4 games. Ings and Adams has really impressed me. Adams has picked his game up. Obviously, he scored a sort of dogged goal at Stamford Bridge last time out. He didn't give up, but he was playing well previously without finding the finishing touch. Now that he's sort of off the mark, I can see Adams and Ings becoming more of a partnership where they both chip in. So yeah, I think they can certainly score in this fixture.
All right, so a few selections there. So over 2.5 just under 1.8 from Mark BTTS, and Everton minus a quarter of a goal as well. Okay, I like it. A lot of selections. Should be a good one, that one, on Sunday afternoon. Right, let's move on. Adrian, I'll come to you in a second for this. So I want to talk about Manchester United against Chelsea. I think we're finally going to give Manchester United a bit of love on this podcast, guys, because it's been rare. It's been rare. I think it's been about 3 years, Mark, since we've said anything nice about them. Current betting at the time of broadcast, I'll bring it up on screen right now. Manchester United 2.54 at Old Trafford. Chelsea there 2.84. The draw at 3.68. It's all square in the Asian handicap. That's essentially draw no bet. Manchester United plus 0.0, 1.85. The total is a flat 3, and it's slightly favouring the under. Right, Adrian, Manchester United. We talked about them. It's very difficult to get a read on this team all of a sudden. Now we backed them. We backed Newcastle plus a goal last weekend.
Yeah,
I know. I think I only got to see the second half of this game, and I think definitely from watching it, United definitely deserve to win. I don't think they deserve to win 4-1. I think when Fernandes scored that goal, I think we were quite happy to just take our void bet and move on to Sunday's action. But then, Tuesday night in Paris comes, and we see a Manchester United team well drilled. They're pressing, they're organised. What the hell do we make of this team? But I actually think there may be a bit of value here in United. I thought Chelsea would be small but longer in price here.
Well, yeah, I actually fancy Manchester United in this game because they've had a good week, definitely. I mean, 28 shots, 14 shots on target at St James's Park. That was some upturn from them. And of course, he tweaked it. He went with 2 defensive midfielders. Pogba was dropped, 4-2-3-1 with Rashford down the middle, and it worked. And it gave them a better platform to go and attack teams. And what we saw in Paris was something completely different. 3 at the back with Twanzebe coming in and doing a tremendous job. But again,
what a game!
Absolutely fantastic. And when you think about the indifferent form of the other guys, surely he's got to play against Chelsea. He has to. So I'll be fascinated to see what system he goes with. I'm pretty sure Pogba might miss this one out again. Why change a winning formula? I think go with those two sitting guys and basically, in essence, leave it up to Fernandes and Rashford and whoever he picks out wide to do the business. I think it's been a really good week for Solskjaer, who does have these tactical good days up his sleeve. We saw it last season. He changes things around for certain games, and a lot of the time it worked. And also, like what he's done with Mason Greenwood, he's sort of disciplined him. I think he's been turning up for meetings and training late. That's the reason he's missed the last couple of games. Strong management that, and maybe he'll bring him back into the fold for this weekend and get a positive reaction from Mason Greenwood. So there's a lot to like, I think, about United unbelievably ahead of this game. You've also got to look at Chelsea. Chelsea away from home, league goals for fun. No one since the start of last season, so this is the entirety of Lampard's reign, have conceded more goals on the road than Chelsea. 42 goals in, I think, 21 games. 1 clean sheet in 21 Premier League away games under Lampard. That was at Spurs. It was a really good performance there to win 2-0 last season. But that was December. So Chelsea are not solid at all away from home, and they can't be considered title contenders just no matter who they've got up front. And they've got great goal scorers and so many creative players, but until they find some sort of defensive stability on the road, they're going to be battling for 4th place. In my opinion.
Even on Tuesday night, they were creaking against Sevilla as well. I mean, Sevilla, like we talked about in the Champions. Sorry, Mark and Brothers talked about in the Champions League podcast that they just about did enough. But like Sevilla don't have a major attacking threat. Like United probably definitely have more of an edge.
Well, what he needs to do, Lampard, is maybe stick with that back 5 that he had. I think it was Mendy, James, Thiago Silva, Zuma, and Chilwell. Just stick with it. He's been chopping and changing his back 4 and goalkeeper. Just stick with it. So, look, I think that Chelsea might have a focus on being tighter in this game. They might do, but still, Rashford's in good form. Fernandes looked good, and on those counters, and they will get counters against Chelsea who like to hog the ball. Then they do look pretty dangerous. So for me, Manchester United at 2.54, I think it was a retractive, and also again both teams to score is one that appeals because of Chelsea's firepower.
Mark, what are you thinking with this one?
Yeah, kind of approving and everything Adrian's saying yet again, which is always good to hear. I thought Alex Telles actually was excellent as well in midweek for United on his debut at left wing back, so he's been a canny addition. But yeah, as you said, Adrian, Sully, at the start there, it's time we did give United a bit of praise and credit to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the last 2 weeks. I did think they were full value for a comfortable win against Newcastle, and then in what turned out to be a bit of a basketball game in Paris in midweek in the second half, I thought United looked the most dangerous out of the two teams every time they went forward. So, yeah, a lot of positives there. Is Martial still suspended? I think he might be, but yeah. So Cavani is apparently available. Greenwood might be as well. So they're not short of firepower either, and they should be looking at this as a winnable game. I do think probably United in the draw no bet market, there's something there. 1.85ish. I think that's not bad at all. Adrian mentioned the defensive record, which I was going to bring up, the same stat actually on Chelsea. And with that in mind, United score, Chelsea need 2 for the bet to lose. So that's a nice way in. Just on Chelsea, for all we've kind of lauded them, or have been in the media at least, about the attacking Arsenal that they've got going forward these days. They only had 6 shots in that game against Sevilla. 6 shots at home in the Champions League. It's not ideal, really. And all the talk afterwards from Lampard and the players was how glad and how happy they were about the clean sheet. And I thought, there's a bigger picture here. You need to be doing more, especially at home in those kind of games. Mendy, arguably their man of the match in the match. He made a really good save. But, that back four, James, Zuma, Chilwell, Thiago Silva, doesn't convince me. I know Thiago Silva is using a translator at the moment, so communication might not be brilliant at the moment either at the defence. So I definitely think they're gettable. United should be looking at this game as a winnable match. So overs over 2 3/4 also appealed since the start of last season. Chelsea's away games, 18 of 21 have gone over 2.5. 17 of those seen both sides score. United aren't too bad in the same sort of trends either. I think 13 of their 21 at home, which is 62%, have seen over 2.5. The same figure for both teams to score as well. So we've seen both teams regularly now. Neither of them are convincing defensively at the moment, but there's plenty of attacking ability going forward. So combine the two, I think there's a runner there, but over 2 3/4, 1.8ish, fair enough to me.
Adrian, just one other thing before we jump off this game. You talked about Pogba obviously not playing in Paris, and that probably did sting him, obviously. But would you be kind of waiting around for team news for this one, and kind of if you saw that Solskjaer is going to set up with a similar setup in Paris, would you be more confident of betting him that way? Or if you see Pogba come back in, you're thinking, this hasn't really worked so well in the last couple of weeks. Would that kind of drive you off United?
It would. It would. Look, Pogba's a brilliant player. He's probably their most gifted player. No doubt about it. But I just feel that they're a better bet to win matches right now with a more solid framework. Yeah. And that framework, when you've got Fernandes in the team as well, to play Fernandes and Pogba with then just one of Fred or McTominay or Matic, it can leave them exposed, particularly when they play 4-3-3 with 2 wide attackers. What he did at Newcastle and in Paris to some degree as well was get his wide guys to track back and work a bit harder. We hadn't really seen that in the first few games. So that, I think, bodes really well. So maybe that will give him confidence to bring Pogba back into the fray alongside either McTominay or Fred or Matic. I don't think it would be a game changer.
Yeah, okay. So it's not going to essentially put you off from the person's perspective. You see Pogba's name and go, No. I don't think he makes that much of a difference defensively. Yeah. But I just feel that it's worked the last 2 games. And if I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I wouldn't be changing it. All right. So let's have a quick recap of that. So I think Manchester United plus 0.0, which is obviously drawn all bet, just to cover ourselves, Mark, be a bit more risk averse sometimes is good too. 1.85 and over 2.75 is a good shout there as well. Because I thought that goal line seems about right. It's already trending under. And so I think we'll get a decent enough price with 2.75. Just one thing before we go off this, there's a colleague of mine at Matchbook, one of Manchester United's biggest fans in my head. But he's actually from London, but I just keep on reminding him of that. That's what I brought up. He's always bitching to me about how Manchester United don't get any love on this. So, Lewis, I know you're listening. Enjoy it, mate. This is maybe the first and last time for a while. So if they lose on Saturday, we may not be talking about them again.
Drink it in.
Drink it in. Lap it up because it may not come back. All right, guys, let's move on to Friday Night Lights. This is going to be a good game, I think. Aston Villa Wow, how good are they? 4 games, like 2 goals conceded. Current betting at Matchbook as they take on Leeds, 2.37. And Villa, Leeds United 3.18. The draw is 3.66. Leeds United getting a quarter of a goal start, 0.25 at 1.93. And the total, 2.75. Right, Mark, Villa, backed them again last week. Are we backing them again this week?
No.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I found this game really difficult to find an angle into. I'm going to oppose goals in it though. Yeah, I've spoken highly of Villa. I've spoken to them last week about how I adjusted my ratings of them in the international break. Was thrilled with the result they had last weekend as well. They've now got pace and attack. They've got players who can progress the ball, not just Grealish. They've got Barkley there as well, a threat from long range as well, a balanced midfield, a defence which looks organised, and just there's a whole better shape about the team at the moment. And it's been that case for a while now. If you go back to how they came out of lockdown, they were one of the better teams. And they were better than Leicester last week. It was marginal. We mentioned those players missing for Leicester. But yeah, the winning run is going to end at some point. All runs do. I wonder if this is going to be the case for Villa this weekend. The Leeds challenge is very difficult. It's always very difficult. It's a different challenge to what any other team presents. And obviously, if you take the Liverpool game apart, you've seen that Leeds have been competitive at the very least in all their matches. Man marking across the pitch, hassling, harrying, pressing. They just make life uncomfortable for you. And I just wonder whether that Liverpool game for Villa was one of those freak games, which we will see this season. There will be a few of those because of the condensed campaign. So, I think from a sort of 1x2 handicap basis, there wasn't a huge amount for me to find here. I thought Leeds were quite unlucky on Monday against Wolves. So they're long periods of possession and long periods of being the better team. I think Bielsa recognised that they probably did deserve to be ahead before the Wolves goal. They just haven't been created bundles of clear-cut chances either. That's why I kind of went towards opposing goals. 10 of Villa's 14 games since restart in June have featured fewer than 3. All but one of the exceptions were against Chelsea, United and Liverpool. So teams with very strong forward lines. And Leeds, since that Liverpool game, things have been drastically different in terms of the goal output at both ends of the field. So I think this game might be a tighter affair than what the market's probably suggesting right now. I think there's value in under 2 and 3/4. There's value in under 2.5 as well. I probably would take the under 2.5 at the bigger price, 2.2. Just because I think the only thing really worrying me from a Leeds perspective is Calvin Phillips' injury. Who's going to replace him? What's the shape of the team going to look like for this? But I think I'm not saying they're underrated, but I don't want to oppose Leeds right now. I think they're in a good place, and I think they will pick up points in these kind of games going forward as well.
Adrian, unders from Mark. What are you thinking on this one?
I slightly disagreed. I can see the logic behind everything that Mark said, but I have a bit more confidence in Villa because Calvin Phillips is a key man. Let me tell you, for Leeds United, he's played a lot of football. He missed a few games towards the end of last season, but he was a talisman with them on the way to the Premier League. I think it'll either be Jamie Shackleton that plays in that holding role, or they'll move Stuart Dallas into that position from left back. So either way, they're rejigging 2 or 3 different positions here, Leeds. And we know that Bielsa doesn't like to do that. He likes to have consistency with his selection, with this tactical approach. So that would trouble me. I think that Leeds midfielders can really hurt Villa, because you think about Villa with Barkley and McGinn, they love to fly forward at the moment, full of confidence. Do they want to go the other way? And we saw at Anfield in particular, Clarke making runs off of Liverpool midfielders, and Rodrigo can do it from deep as well. So that's something to watch out for if you're in the Villa camp. But I just think they're full of so much confidence, Sully, at the moment, Aston Villa. I've got a stat for you. Touches in the box. Now, it doesn't mean everything, because touches in the box, it's not shots, it's not goals, but it shows that you've got penetration. It shows that you can put teams onto the back foot. Last year, they averaged 19 per game, 17th in the division. This season, 34 touches inside the box per game, second highest in the Premier League. Now, Watkins is stretching teams, and you've got Grealish, who can play a bit further forward because Barkley behind him to the left he doesn't need to come short to get the ball as much, because Barkley's doing that for him at the moment. So he can push on and do the business inside the final third. And Barkley and McGinn are goal threats, as we know. So for me, I'm nervous about Leeds with the team selection with no Calvin Phillips. So I would be going not all in on Villa, but the draw no bet option again. I think for Villa at around even money is good considering the form they're in at the moment and the goal threat they have.
Yeah, I think it's a bit shorter than even money now, Adrian. But yeah, no, look, it's still a decent price, I would suggest. I wonder though, Adrian, with Villa, and look, I know teams don't give a monkeys about if they're odds or favourites, but you're expecting them all of a sudden now because they're close to the top of the table. Where is it going to kind of drop off? Where you're the hunted gun now, whereas opposed are coming in under the radar. They're not under the radar anymore.
No, they're not underrated, but they're just full of confidence. I think that trumps the fact that they might feel pressure at being in such a lofty position. You just got to think about the units. Emi Martinez has the best save percentage in the division right now of all the Premier League keepers. He's a man in form. Konsa and Mings are forming a really good partnership. In midfield, it's got beautiful balance, in my opinion, with Douglas Luiz flanked by McGinn and Barkley. I like the look of that. And then Grealish is playing well. Trezeguet is playing well. And Ollie Watkins is a big upgrade on what they had before. I'm confident that Villa, okay, they won't stay in the top 4, but I'm pretty confident they can knock around in the top 8 for a long period this season, a little bit like Sheffield United did. I just like the look of their side. And crucially at the moment, their key men are fit. The time to start worrying about Villa is when some of these names that I've mentioned pick up injuries and knocks and they're out for a few weeks. Then the backup's not so good.
Yeah, okay, so Villa plus 0.0, which is essentially draw no bet at 1.71. It's short, but we have 2 selections, I think, there. Under 2.75 is Mark's angle as well. So let's do a very quick recap of what we have before we move on to the tail end of the show. We are going to take the unders in Arsenal Leicester. 2.75 is currently available at Matchbook at 1.94. We're going to take Southampton game against Everton over 2.5. We're going to take both teams to score in that one also for Adrian at 1.78. Manchester United finally getting a bit of love from the Matchbook betting podcast, plus 0.0, which is draw no bet at 1.85. Over 2 is 0.75 in that game also. And like you just said, Villa, draw no bet and under 2.75. Just going to get one question in there as well, guys. We talked about one of the chaps being touched here. Is it does Calvin Phillips missing effect to give him Villa's strongest midfield? I think we've just addressed that. But just one other one I found quite interesting here from Diego the Governor. It's a pretty cool name, actually. Currently, who is your favourites for the Premier League title? City, Liverpool, and Everton. And Mark, I'll just go to you for this one for a second. I mean, look, it's only 5 games in, but is there anyone of those kind of top sides you've adjusted your ratings accordingly, either down or up, or is there anyone you'd be essentially very worried about right now for an outright bet?
I mean, it's very difficult right now. Obviously, if we were speaking 7 days ago, I'd be saying Liverpool would still be my favourite. But Van Dijk's injury absolutely hampers them, no doubt about it. You've got to chip a few points off of Liverpool. City haven't really convinced me as a team just yet. I know they're getting key players back from injury and new signings are bedding in, but I still think there's a lot of improvement required there. If you certainly look at the game against Porto midweek, just another example of that. And then from there, you're looking at the likes of Everton and Villa. Can they mount a sustained challenge? That's the big question. Normally, we'd say absolutely no chance. But after what Leicester achieved, and I've said it a few times now, but we are in wouldn't say a surreal time, but we're in a different kind of normal, if you like, in terms of football. It's such a condensed season. And I think any team without European commitments are going to have an advantage. If you look at the Champions League teams at the moment, they're playing 3 consecutive weeks. They get a week off for the international break. Players are flying all around the globe, then back in for another 3 hectic weeks of Champions League football, all on top of the Premier League as well. So there possibly is an opportunity for an outsider to go the distance. Who do you choose out of the outsiders at the moment? You do look towards Everton and Villa. How much value is left in the market when you back those teams at the prices right now? Probably very little, considering their overall prospects of actually going the distance are limited. So for me, it's about holding fire probably a little bit longer, maybe wait till the next international window, just get a bit more of a feel for things. You know, we've only just had the transfer window come to a conclusion as well. There's still a lot to learn about these teams. I'm still learning a lot about formation, systems, approach, and how teams and players are bedding in. So I do think there's an opportunity for an outsider this year, but at the moment, I still will probably slightly give Liverpool the edge, although City are the favourites in the market.
Yeah, I'm 100% still behind Liverpool. I think they're the best team in the division. Something's still not right about City. I think defensively that teams will get at them. Liverpool, it's understandable that people are panicking. No Virgil van Dijk, it's over. And they're drifting in all the markets, aren't they? But Fabinho, it might be a result for Fabinho, this injury, because with Thiago coming into the side, suddenly there was one really good midfielder that was going to miss out. Now, Fabinho, I think, can become a very, very good centre-half for Liverpool. And if he steps up to the plate in the way that I think he's capable of, then they might not miss Virgil quite as much as everyone's worried they will at the moment.
Yeah, there was a couple of hairy moments in that Ajax game, but I think definitely in the second half. No, I know a lot of this was Ajax probably tiring, but they did seem to kind of get a handle on it. So that's probably encouraging enough. Right, gentlemen, good question there, I thought. Let's move on to EFL and European bets. This is the part where I get my buyer already, and I'm like, yeah, let's go. Because, I think, like we said before, the markets aren't as efficient as they are in the top flight. So, look, we gave out 7 bets for the Premier League. But I would suggest they're probably more for actors, and they're maybe half unit plays or 1 unit. But these are the ones that we have seen in the last few weeks are making a pretty decent profit. EFL King himself, Adrian Clarke, kick us off. Where are you going this week?
Well, I've got a couple of slim ones, I have to say, this week. But
that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But I've gone. Yep. I'm going with the form and what we're seeing patterns of. Reading against Rotherham. Now, as soon as I saw this fixture, I thought, well, that's going to be low scoring. And then you dig a little bit deeper and you go through it. Yeah. I mean, Reading, 5 clean sheets in 6. Under 2.5 goals has come in 5 of Rotherham's games, in 5 of Reading's games. So these two teams know how to defend, and they're not exactly the most free-flowing going forward. Lucas João is on fire for Reading, but if he doesn't click, then where are the goals coming from? So for me, this one really stands out as under 2.5 goals. I think we're talking 1.73 on that. But if you look at what's happened up until this point, then that looks quite a robust choice, I would say. Yeah, it's not going to be a thriller at the Madejski. I'm not sure who'll win. Actually, I could see maybe Reading, who are flying, dropping points in this one, maybe with a goalless draw or a 1-1 draw. So I think this will be a very, very even affair. The other one, I'm going the opposite way in the Championship. Coventry against Blackburn. I'm going for both teams to score. I think it comes in about 1.75. You look at the average goals in the respective teams' games so far this season. Blackburn have the highest amount of average goals in their games, 3.17. Coventry, third highest, 2.67 per game in matches featuring Coventry. They're not quite as solid defensively as they were in League One, understandably, Coventry, and their home games have been quite entertaining to this point. And Blackburn, even though they've had a couple of indifferent weeks, they've got players back fit again now. And they scored at Watford, which isn't easy to do, last night. And you've got Adam Armstrong, Brereton, Harvey Elliott they signed from Liverpool. Their midfielders are back in the fray now. They missed the Forest game. So I think there's a lot to like about Blackburn going forward. Mowbray has always been a very attack-minded coach. So he'll go to Coventry, or Birmingham, actually. They don't go to Coventry anymore, do they? He'll go there looking to win the game and to score goals, and Coventry will fight fire with fire. So both teams to score for me at St Andrews, please.
Can I just sorry, if you don't mind, Sully, just on that Blackburn game from Watford, people might look at the final score and see Blackburn were beaten 3-1. They're actually the better team for almost all of the game. If you look at the highlights, Ben Foster made a few smart saves. Blackburn were bossing possession, bossing all the shot stats, all the XG as well. So, I absolutely sort of vouch for that. Blackburn going forward something to follow this season for definite.
All right, a vote of confidence there from Mark O'Haire. It's never a bad thing, Adrian Clarke, let me tell you.
He doesn't need it.
All right, he probably doesn't need it at the moment. Don't forget, Adrian, like I've said at the top, has also got 3 selections over at insights.matchbook.com, so check those out. He was 4-4 last weekend. Mark, where are you going this weekend, mate? I think you're going to climates elsewhere. Probably no better, warmer, cold anyway. But you're definitely heading for the continent rather than staying in Blighty this weekend.
Nice link, Sally. Going to Germany, the big derby, Dortmund Schalke on Saturday.
Yes.
The class goes on at 3 p.m, but this will arguably be just as good on TV. 5:30. I want to be with Dortmund on the handicap -1 3/4 at 1.8. I thought this would be a 2, to be honest. I think Dortmund win this by 2 goals reasonably comfortably. Obviously, midweek they were beaten in Lazio and well beaten as well. Plenty of soul searching around Dortmund. Plenty of criticism around the performance in the team, particularly Lucien Favre's setup of it. But we saw them dismantle Schalke in the first game after lockdown, 4-0 without supporters. There'll be a few fans in for this as well, and crucially their defence will be much stronger as well. Emre Can will be back, Akanji will be back, Axel Witsel will be playing, Mounier, Bellingham, who was hooked at half-time, he's likely to probably come back into this game as well. And just look at the team going forward. Haaland, Sancho, Royce is fit as well. They're going to be licking their lips at this Schalke team, who have conceded 53 goals in the league since January, when their last win was.
I haven't really followed, like, since Wagner got the bullet there. Has there been any bit of a bounce back? The name of the coach escapes me. I think was he with Augsburg before? Yeah. Has there been any bit of a kind of a bounce back with Schalke?
There's been very small steps of progress. They held Union Berlin last weekend, but they should, in theory, be looking at match as a winnable game too. So it's 20 games now without a win, a club record. They're just in dire straits on and off the pitch, and crucially, their personnel for this isn't great either. Weston McKennie, who left in the summer, the midfield presence, their best midfielder, he's gone. Their best defender, Kabak, is suspended. Their first choice goalkeeper is injured, and Suet Serdar, probably the best attacking midfielder, is also unavailable as well. So they lost 6 of 9 at the top half last season. Were routinely thrashed by Bayern and Dortmund. Dortmund covered this mark in 10 of their 13 home wins since the start of last season. So, there has been a slight improvement from Schalke, but I'm surprised this handicap didn't start at 2, because they have the firepower to cut them to shreds.
Yeah, well, credit where it's due, because we were chatting on WhatsApp during the week and you were all over Lazio on that Tuesday night, as I was. We saw that injury list, especially with Thomas Delaney having to line up in the top back three for Dortmund. I'm not totally sure why Dortmund went off as short as they did. Something bizarre, but look, we got the bit of value there. Anything else there for you, Mark? Are you happy enough with just the Dortmund?
Yeah, it's my best bet. So if you want it now, or
yes, let's move on to best bets. That's just pushing me along. I like it, Mark. Keep me on my toes. Stay with you, mate. Go on, give me your best bet.
Right. Yeah, Norway, Sunday afternoon.
Scandinavia again, Adrian. We love going on. We love going on.
Goal kings over there. Vålerenga take on Kristiansand. Over 2 3/4. It's 1.75. That's my angle in. Both teams chasing a top 3 finish in Norway, which would get European qualification next season. There's only 3 points between, I think, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, or 4 points at least. So it's very tight, and these two teams are quite well matched in terms of all the underlying data, their aspirations, and how they perform in these sorts of situations as well. Both very offensive. The games involving these two, both sort of averaging around 3 goals per game. Look at the XG, again, averaging at least 3 goals per game. So that's always quite encouraging too. And their open play numbers stack up as well. But I know in sort of raw numbers, people like to hear them. But, combine the two teams, 69% of their games over 2.5, 36% over 3.5, 74% BTTS. And if you just view the home and away records together, 76% over 2.5, 81% BTTS. The two teams together have scored in 20 of their 21 home and away games, and 36 of 41 across all venues as well. So there's plenty to play for. 2 attack-minded teams. So I think it should be quite a good game. So over 2 3/4.
Any thoughts on Vålerenga, Adrian?
No? I've got absolutely nothing. I mean, I'm so impressed that Mark finds the time to know about Scandinavian football. I mean, it's incredible. But yeah, I doff my imaginary cap. Well played.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Well, I was on last week's one in Sweden, by the way. So yeah,
good man. I think we all were. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a nice little thing to watch on Flash score on a Sunday afternoon. Adrian, over to you, mate. Best bet for the weekend for you, mate.
Well, I do like Arsenal. Arsenal versus Leicester under 2 3/4. I think that is a really, really good bet. But for me, I'm going to dip into the EFL again and go for a team that go for a team that looked after me last time. Doncaster Rovers. They're looking really, really good. I think from back to front, there's a lot to like about Darren Moore's side. They're pretty solid at the back. Midfield, they are outstanding, and they're scoring goals as well as the 4-1 win last time out against Ipswich proved. So they go into this one at home to Crewe Alexandra. Now Crewe have got some talented players, but but I see them as more of a home side. You get this in football. I've played in them. Teams that are very comfortable, they score goals at home, and it's all very easy. You go on the road, and suddenly it's much tougher, and there's somewhat of a phobia. And I think that Crewe have had a bit of a problem so far on the road. They haven't scored from trips to Hull and Sunderland, and I just think with Doncaster 2-4-1 wins at home in succession are a pretty strong fancy to beat Crewe at home, and the price attracted me. It was 2.03 as well, which I thought was quite generous given what I've just said. So I'm gonna put my eggs in the Donny basket again.
All right, not a bad idea. So yeah, good odds again. I think it's nearly 2.05 actually at the moment, so even better. All right, that's 12 bets locked in total for us guys. 14 last week, so we're just trending a small bit underneath that. That's okay. There's no quotas here for anything. All we want is to stay in the black and keep this good run going. Adrian, my thanks as ever. Mark, thank you as well, sir. Best of luck with your bets this weekend, folks. Some cracking games again coming up at us, especially in the Premier League. And yeah, can't wait for Norway. And is it Sunday, Mark, for Enga?
Yeah, 5 p.m. Sunday.
Happy days indeed. All right.
Well, Wolves Newcastle is Super Sunday's 4:30 game, so why not stick Norway on instead?
Yeah, I think that Varenga's still slightly bigger fixture. All right, that's it from us. We'll be back again next Thursday morning. Best of luck with your bets this weekend, and we will chat to you then. Take care.